Nicole from Flower Hill Farm. I'm growing cut flowers in upstate New York, zone 4B. We are way up here under several feet of snow, but all I can think about are daffodils. Oh, daffodils. If you've watched any of my videos, and perhaps I didn't make enough videos last spring to clearly show you my obsession with daffodils, I honestly think they're my favorite spring bloom. They're blooming a month or so before the Dames Rocket, so that's not counting. That's a late spring bloom. Okay, so daffodils to me are just the first sign of spring. Other than the glory of the snow, I don't have any snowdrops, but I know snowdrops will bloom before them. But other than all of those things, they're the first thing, let's just say they're the first thing in my garden that I'm cutting. Many of the daffodils are very strongly scented, and for some people it's too much, but for me it's perfect. I absolutely get intoxicated when I'm around them. It was kind of funny, and my photographer friend Tommy would back me up on this, but when I worked at the TV station, I used to keep a Yankee Candle tart. I think it was called honeysuckle. That's the one that I'm coming up with, but for some reason it smelled like daffodils to me, and I used to keep it in my coat pocket all winter long, and anytime I was having a bad day or I just needed to pick me up, I'd pull the tart out of my pocket and just smell it and just breathe. Just like that. So daffodils are definitely one of my favorite, and they're also a fantastic cut flower. So coming up in just a few minutes, I'm going to talk about all of the ones that I'm growing currently for this spring. Super excited about the new ones that I put in last fall on top of the old ones that I planted a couple of years ago. But first I wanted to talk to you guys about why I think daffodils make a fantastic cut flower. All right, let me just count the ways. They're deer resistant. They're rabbit resistant. They're the first things to emerge in the spring that I cut. I don't have hellebores this year. They multiply. Do I need to go on? What else do you want? Basically, they're the flower that you buy once and they just keep giving year after year. You don't have to do anything to them except maybe every 5 years or so, like break them apart and spread them out farther because they multiply that much. So after you cut the flower, in order for them to produce enough energy to produce a bloom next year, you have to let the foliage die back naturally. And then once that foliage has died back, you can go ahead and clear it away. And a lot of people, if they have limited space, will go ahead and plant their annuals on top of where the daffodil bed is. Just make sure they're a shallow rooted annual. Usually I plant the daffodil bulbs between 6 and 8 inches deep, so I don't think much is going to get down there and disturb them. For me though, I have such a vast space here on my property at Flower Hill Farm that I do not plant anything on top of them. I just let the bed be dead. A lot of people do what's called a lasagna method for planting. So they'll have their daffodils 6 to 8 inches, and then they'll have their tulips around 6 inches, and then they'll put the lilies and the gladiolas. And so you have an area, if you're landscaping, to have blooms all throughout the season. So that's another really good method to use if you're doing something more for landscaping, and you can still cut from your landscape flowers, absolutely. So one of the drawbacks to daffodils, which does not discourage me from growing them at all, is that they exude a sap that could be toxic not only to you and animals, but also to other flowers in the vase. And there's a really simple fix for that. You just have to condition them. And the way you can condition them is super easy. You just cut the stem the height that you want them, and you put them in a vase of water by themselves and let them sit for about half an hour, at least half an hour. And then you can go ahead and add them to any arrangements. It just gets that sap out of there. But beware that if you go to freshen up that bouquet at any other point, you also need to separate the daffodils out so that the sap does not kill anything else in the vase. So I actually did not make a video this fall about planting daffodils. I did my tulip video, and it's totally different for me. Planting tulips, I plant them in egg crate style where they're basically like touching. They're maybe a ½ inch apart in the ground. My daffodils, because they are gonna come back every year and they perennialize, I plant them about 4 inches apart, and I do fertilize them with bulb tone. I do not fertilize my tulips because they have enough energy for the 1 year that I'm gonna have them in the ground. My perennials, My daffodils, those are gonna come back year after year for me. They have enough energy to come back that first year, that first spring, but then the fertilizer in the ground is there for them to maintain their energy and to bloom year after year after year. You can also fertilize them in early spring by like dusting over the top of the bulbs in the ground. So let's talk about the bulbs that I'm expecting to bloom absolutely gorgeously this spring. I'm super excited because I doubled my daffodils from last year. I can't get enough of them. They are the one thing that I will invest in every single year for a couple years at least. I think it can get kind of crazy if I put, 10,000 daffodils in. But for now, I do have a couple of thousand in the ground and I'm gonna tell you what they are. Okay, so the first year, the ones that are gonna come back that I had last year are several different varieties. I ordered my daffodils 2 years ago from a couple of different places. The biggest order that I put in was with Edney Glockner, and they're a wholesale company that was purchased by Ball Seed this year. The first box, they come in crates with those big black bulb crates. The first crate that I bought was 225 in a crate. So the first crate that I bought was a mixed daffodil. So I had no idea what I was gonna get. And if you know my videos and you know me, I kind of like surprises. So I bought the mixed daffodil and oh my goodness, so many gorgeous varieties came from this. And I think I was able to recognize a few of the varieties that I did get in the mix, but I didn't even care. They were just gorgeous and I loved all of them. So this was actually how I jump-started my season. I had a doorstep daffodil program that you could sign up for. I advertised it on my social medias and I had people buying bundles from me and I was just dropping them off and they were called doorstep daffodils. Pretty simple. So this mix and the more trumpet varieties, those are the ones that bloomed first for me on the farm. And then further on in the spring, a little later on, it was the double daffodils and then the multi-head daffodils, and they are just so gorgeous. The second crate that I had in the ground 2 years ago was called Flower Drift. Flower Drift is an amazing, gorgeous double daffodil. It's kind of a creamy white color and then it has the flecks of orange in the middle. I actually didn't think that I got Flower Drift at first, and I emailed the company and I said, guys, I don't think this is Flower Drift, but I actually think I got 10 or 12 bulbs that were mystery bulbs. That's what I'm calling them. So this is what they look like. And honestly, I was looking up some daffodils this morning and they look very similar to something called My Story, like My Story, 2 words. And I'm not sure. But then some of the experts said perhaps it is Flower Drift, but the outer petals just remained green. So I'm really not sure what happened there. I'm not gonna complain about it because I absolutely love them and I would probably order more. So the third crate that I ordered from them is Sir Winston Churchill. And Sir Winston Churchill was the final blooms for the daffodils. They were the late bloomers and wow, they were phenomenal. They had multiple heads, a little smaller white, 5 to 7 blooms on a stem. The smell was just fantastic. These were my customer favorite. I sold these in giant clumps, I think 25 stems, and I was selling them for $25. So you got, I think it was 25 or 30 stems. And when you have 25 or 30 stems and there are multiple heads, it's just striking. I love selling daffodils in straight bunches. There's just something show-stopping about that amazing, solid bouquet. I also had ordered a mixed daffodil from DutchBulbs.com, and I also picked up a few of the clearance bags of 40 bulbs from Walmart. So I ended up having, those were all mixes. So I really had a nice selection last year between the mixes that I got at the big box store and DutchBulbs.com and Edney Glockner. So I was not disappointed at all in any of my daffodils. Now on to the new daffodils of 2021. I'm so excited about these because they are some of the ones that I've had my eye on for like 2 years now. I couldn't get them, so I ordered a little later 2 years ago and I couldn't get some of the varieties that I wanted, but these ones, these are the special babies that are gonna make my daffodil dreams come true. How about you? First one, let's talk about it. Replete. I gotta get my laptop for this because that's where I the information about these. I don't have this memorized, guys. Okay, ready? Replete, 20 inches, double fluffy peach pink ruffled double sturdy stems So yeah, Replete is that apricot color that I'm dying for this year. I'm ordering everything in that color. It's like a peachy pink apricot dream. That's what I'm calling it, Replete. Replete after me. Okay, so the next one, so I ordered 225 of those, and all of these too are from Edney Glockner. That was the last year to order through Edney Glockner before it was taken over by Ball Seed. The next one I'd love to tell you about is White Lion. Now, White Lion is a dreamsicle for me. A dreamsicle because it's got soft double petals with a hint of yellow. So gorgeous. So this daffodil was introduced in the 1940s, and it's also a 1980s band. So it's the full creamy blooms. I'm sorry, I had to do that, guys. Creamy blooms, and the height on this one is 18 to 20 inches. Can't complain there. And I actually found this photo on Florette's website, and I thought it was the most beautiful photo that I could find of White Lion, so I had to share it. So thank you, Erin, for posting such beautiful content. And this is zone 3 through 8, which is pretty typical of daffodils. I've seen some websites say zones 2 through 10, but the majority of them say 3 through 8. So the next one we have is called Tahiti. Tahiti is exactly that. It's tropical, it's gorgeous, it's this orange tropical gorgeousness with that red in the middle. Yeah, it's just delightful. I'm so excited about this one. Let's see some more details. So it's definitely a sturdy and reliable. Some of the websites said it's one of the best multipliers, so that's great if you, well, that's great for everybody. That's great if you're in the landscape. It's also great if you're cut flower farming. It is a little bit on the shorter side though, growing just about 16 inches tall. This next crate is called Westward. This is a double mid-season bloom, multiple layers with gorgeous yellow. I think I might have gotten a few of these in my mix last year. Very striking, very gorgeous, very excited about these. These are also on the shorter end, but they could have some height on them, 14 to 18 inches. The final new daffodil that I have coming this year perhaps is my most exciting one because of just the color combination is striking. It's called Pink Charm. So Pink Charm is known for having large flowers. They're 4 inches across. They're large cupped. Super cute, love them. I was reading, and this is known for its ability to grow a second bloom on a single stem. Now I kind of want to go and find a sweet honeysuckle tart to get me through the next, I don't know, month or so before I start to see the daffodils, but I want to say it was like March 22nd or something last year when I started to see the buds form on my daffodil patch. But I gotta be honest with you guys, it's a little, you know, we've got 2 feet of snow on the ground right now. So I hope that has you dreaming of blooms to come, and if you're in California and your daffodils are already up, I don't care. I'm just kidding, we love you. So my #1 spring bloom for cut flowers is daffodil. You could disagree with me, doesn't matter, it's my opinion. I love them so much. I will always have a special place in my heart for daffodils. I have talked to you guys before about how I never met my grandmother on my father's side, but she loved daffodils and grew a bunch at the house a couple doors down. So they'll always be special to me for that, but they're also just fantastic. And you're not gonna believe this, but this morning today, Friday, February 19th, I put my order in for next year's daffodils. For the daffodils of 2022. I also ordered my ranunculus and my tulips for next year because they're opening up sales now because there's such a high demand that things are selling out. And yes, I got La Belle Epoque. I don't even know how to say it, but everyone's raving about this tulip and it keeps selling out. I was able to secure some, so good luck if you're on the hunt. Anyway, I will see you guys soon. Bye. I'm itchy. The sweater makes me itchy. Daffodils. I think that's too confusing. I'm gonna take the whole thing out. 3, 2, I'm gonna sneeze. Got it. Never mind, just kidding. One website even said something. I forgot to finish my sentence. No idea what I'm doing. I'm making like comfort, like you know how kids make little tents to comfort themselves?